And Andre Drummond is still adjusting to his role with the purple and gold. There will be some more adjusting to do as AD prepares to return. Here's a look at how the Big Penguin has performed. Just a little under 12 points, a little under 9 boards, a little under 2 steals a game, about 25 minutes of action. And as he prepares to make his return, AD spoke about playing alongside Andre Drummond.
Dre's a good adapter, and we had a couple plays today in practice where we connected, but he's a good adapter. He's always asking questions. He asked me that, AD, if you catch it here, where do you want me to go? If you're doing this, where you want me to be? So he's always, trying to learn, knowing that it's different. When I'm on the floor, his role changes a little bit. So I think it's gonna be fairly quickly for us to really adapt to each other because we're both guys who want to learn from each other and want to win at the end of the day. And when you got two guys who want to win, you find ways to make it happen. So I think he's a great fit for us. He's been great for us so far, and he's only going to get better. The more he continues to learn the system, and then the more me and him play with each other, we'll get better. And then when Bron comes back, he's getting his lobs, and he can be the Andre Drummond that everybody is looking forward to, which he's been. But he really is gonna, I think, blossom and show everyone why why he wants to come here.
So we talked about silver linings, Frank. Well, you've been missing both those guys, but Anthony hasn't played a game all season without LeBron next to him. Is there any silver lining in this ramp up of him being, once he gets through these minute restriction games, kind of him being the clear-cut number one guy for your team?
Yeah, for sure. Because even when Bron comes back, he doesn't play 48 minutes. We got to win the minutes when he's out, and this is this has been an area that's has been hit or miss for us the last 2 years. Is performing when Bron's out. So these extended minutes should be a silver lining in helping us be better in those stretches.
Let's start with AD next to AD. One thing I think we just learned in that soundbite: the Big Penguin knows who Anthony Davis is. Give him the rock and let him go to work. We fill it around him. Kevin Ding, what are you looking forward to most about seeing those two play next to one another?
Allie, I think maybe people forget a little bit that the size element was a big reason the Lakers won the championship. They basically went big when the whole league was going small, and JaVale and Dwight gave them a template to work with. And obviously AD, played the 5 a lot of times too. But, the Lakers' size, the rebounding dominance, the defensive dominance, it had a lot to do with the fact that they're just bigger and stronger. And obviously LeBron is part of that too. So Andre Drummond comes in, and you got to be hugely excited about this. And I think this is part of the reason the Lakers kind of just moved Marc Gasol to the side a little bit, is you got a guy, an all-star talent, to play the template that worked last season. So why not be super excited about these guys working together? Who's going to get a rebound away from these guys? First of all, the Lakers are going to dominate ball possession even more than last season, and there's skill involved. These guys can put the ball in the back bucket too.
Yeah, defensively, no doubt. Good luck trying to penetrate the Laker front line of AD, and LeBron. I mean, that's going to be really tough right there. There's some muscle and length down there for sure. I'm curious to see how it works on offense. Andre Drummond, his range is roughly 10 feet. He's not one of those guys who's going to be wowing you with a good mid-range game. Really no three-point touch to speak of. But that's okay, because when you add guys like AD and LeBron, guys who do have mid-range and three-point game as well, AD just needs to be the junkyard dog down there. And keep in mind, the Lakers are paying him under $1 million for his time with them. I mean, what a bargain. Already averaging close to a double-double in the numbers that you pointed out there. I'd like to see him get that shooting percentage up a little bit, 46%. He was also shooting right around there with Cleveland this year. So it's a little bit down for him, roughly 5 to 10%. I expect it creeps back up a little bit once he gets more room to work with LeBron and AD kind of stealing defenders away from Andre Drummond, that AD.
When it comes to AD and AD, again, I think the one thing, we got a glimpse of it a season ago, guys. JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard, they didn't necessarily shoot the 3 ball either. Mm-hmm. They were the, bang down low, that inside presence. And I feel like alongside Anthony Davis, it worked out just fine. But obviously we have to see how it unfolds. I think I want to take it to one step further, guys. Dave McMenamin asked that question. Anthony Davis has not really played without LeBron James next to him, but he also took it one step further, that he took it upon himself to kind of grow as a leader during this time and kind of take on that duds role. I'm excited to see what he's able to do from that leadership standpoint as well, suited up in uniform, Kevin, now that he has got a taste of what it was like kind of doing it on the sidelines for 30 games.
Yeah, it's a good question, too. And it speaks to all the things we're looking to see, like where is AD at this point in his career as a dominant player on the court and a dominant player off the court. The knock on him in New Orleans was always that he's just a great guy that didn't want to say what needed to be said to be the leader of a great team. And so now that he's a champion, is that a little bit different? And now that, LeBron isn't back yet, is that a little bit different? Like you're talking about, it is an opportunity for him. But I'm concerned that, he doesn't feel as comfortable or confident, whatever you want to say, because he's missed so much time. So he might be walking on eggshells a little bit instead of coming in and that assertive like we want in voice and in play. And so that's the challenge to me. That lies before AD is another opportunity to prove something about him and move forward in his career.
Yeah, I really like watching him and Andre Drummond talk kind of at the end of the bench over the last couple of weeks. And, AD, he's been here over a year and a half now. I think he's got some pretty good wisdom to impart upon Drummond, saying, hey, here's what I think you should work out of this post play or whatever. I can see him kind of envisioning playing alongside Drummond, who, by the way, 6'10", 280. I mean, he's a big load in the paint there. So I think Anthony Davis, he hasn't really played alongside someone like an Andre Drummond. There's some guys in New Orleans, decent players, but not like double threats every single night. And both those guys defensively, AD's a shot blocker. Andre Drummond is very good at getting the steals. There's going to be a lot of turnovers created in the paint whenever teams try to attack those two.
Cannot wait to see it. Yeah. We're so close. Here's a look at what the Lakers, have missed with AD out of the lineup. He has been out of action since February 14th, about 22.5 points, 8 boards, 3 assists, 2 blocks.
Not bad.
Not bad at all. Now that AD is back, Vogel will have some additional work to do as he integrates his bigs into the lineup. Here's a backstage look on Frank's journey to LA.
It's been cleared for full on-court activity.
Ready to go back to basketball activities in the past 3 days, 4 days, been ramping up, trying to see how it feels.
Hopefully he's ready to go. Obviously, we miss him. His dad's better play.
I want to make sure that I was coming back 100% because it wouldn't be fair to myself, it wouldn't be fair to my team.
And with that, we say hello and welcome to Access Sportsnet Lakers. I'm your host, Allie Clifton. Joining me, it's our Lakers insider, Mike Bresnahan, and live from his home, longtime senior writer for the Lakers, it's Kevin Ding. Ding!
There it
What's up,
is.
guys?
Ding,
Thank you.
Ding, new room for you tonight. And what are the fake awards behind you there?
Fake?
Brez, these are Pro Basketball Writers Association awards that obviously, you and your years and years of trying with the LA Times failed to procure any of them. But I have several.
Wow. I didn't know you could buy those off eBay. Very impressive.
Way to remind him who's boss, Kevin Ding. Per usual, it's good to see you. We're going to give a special shout out. Our graphics producer, Andrew Miller.
Sure.
His dad is in Hawaii watching. So we want to say hi to Pops Eric Miller. Aloha.
Mr. Miller.
Yeah.
Your son does good graphics and he has great stats too.
Very creative too. Sometimes I like him, but when he puts up those faces of me not looking so great.
Well, that's what he does sometimes.
We love you, Andrew.
Yeah.
And shout out to you, Pops. Thanks for tuning in. The time has finally come. Lakers star Anthony Davis is ready to return to the lineup on Thursday, as long as his leg responds in a positive way to Wednesday's workout. Davis noting that he now feels 100% healthy after missing 9 weeks with the calf strain. And during his media session, he spoke about the scary moments surrounding his injury back in February.
The pain was, I felt pain there before, just going through the process when the first time I injured it. But the second time, and I hate to say it, but I never, knock on wood or whatever, I never tore Achilles, but I kind of felt like sharp pain and like it was ripping kind of, so, which I never felt before. Really, the pressure was, tough to put on the flexing and everything like that. flexing my foot and things like that was very painful. So I knew it was something serious. I mean, it wasn't as serious as it could have been, but it was still a pretty significant injury. I don't want to say I thought it was a full tear, because I remember a lot of guys just say if you tore your Achilles, you'll feel it in your calf and it rose up or something like that. And I didn't feel that, but I did think that it was that I probably partially torn it or something like that, which I was definitely afraid of. But MRI and everything was a little different, so that was great news for me.
AD officially listed as questionable for Thursday's game in Dallas. But guys, the moment has finally come. I just said I needed to check my energy level. I'm so excited I can barely stand myself. Kevin Ding, just your overall reaction. Let's start there first. AD coming back.
It's been a long time.
That it has.
And in a lot of ways, it's impossible to take the Lakers season as seriously as we normally do when your star players are not there, especially two of them. But in AD's case, I mean, he proved a lot of things last season for the Lakers, and one of them was that he can be accountable, he can be present, he can get better at those things that he wasn't great at early in his career. And now we have the longest stretch he's ever had on the sidelines in his second year with the Lakers. So it's from one spectrum to the other, really, with AD. And now we see something else. How does he bounce back from this? How does he, show that he's the player that he was last season, a champion? From the beginning, this could be a blessing in disguise for the Lakers, because LeBron and AD worked so hard in the bubble. They came away with the grand prize that nobody else did. Everybody's going to come back hungry. Going to come back tired. No, they're going to be fresh, and it'll be interesting to see if the two stars actually have some juice.
Yeah, great point there, Ding, at the end in particular. You never want to be out because of an injury, but the good news is he gets some rest at this point. So many questions I have. Frank has already answered one of them. He's only going to play about 15 minutes, if indeed he is officially ready to go tomorrow in Dallas, listed as questionable, as I think we've already covered there. But how's he going to mesh with the other AD, with Andre Drummond? How's that going to work? Because Andre Drummond is definitely just an inside guy, whereas AD's got a nice outside game. And by the way, how is that game going to look? He'd kind of gone away from shooting the three when he got hurt. Is he going to bring it back and kind of start shooting threes again? Bottom line, you get an all-star back in the mix. Lakers went 14-16 since he was sidelined after that Valentine's Day game. That's how long ago it was, Allie. I guess you could say they held the fort down. That's not bad, especially when you consider for most of those 30 games, LeBron was out too.
Yep. So,
the Lakers will accept him with open arms, whether it's 15 minutes, 10 minutes, or eventually 30-plus minutes. It's going to happen, and not a moment too soon with 14 games left in the season.
Look, I think just as much as we had to remain patient, I said this the other night on the postgame show, with him being out with the squad that was there, it's going to take that much patience with him returning,
yes,
to your point. But I do appreciate, Ding, him being very open and candid about what that night was like specifically in Denver. I mean, that one line, I think that one word we all caught on to was It felt like it was tearing.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's scary. And that's the AD that we've seen over the course of his career, is that he's had a lot of moments like things happen on the court and he heads to the locker room immediately. It was actually one of the biggest knocks on him as a superstar, was that, every time something happens to him, he retreats and then he sits out way more than other top players do. And so that was the knock on him for a lot of years in New Orleans. And so what we've learned about him now that we get him up close and personal is that he's really an honest, open guy, right? I mean, that's what Al, you're referring to, is he just shares how he feels, and it's realistic, it's honest, that there's some concern there when you feel something like that, especially like he said, something worse than he's ever felt before. So it's not surprising that he's going to take more time to make sure everything is in order, especially given the circumstances we talked about earlier with coming off a championship, coming off the short offseason, and going into a really serious situation where he's trying to defend a championship for the first time.
Yeah, the two most worrisome long-term sports injuries, the knee and the Achilles. And obviously, AD was affected by one of those right there. We got to look at his let's call it his energy when he comes back too. It's not like it's a fractured wrist or maybe a torn labrum in his shoulder. This is an injury where he has not been able to work out. He's not been doing any Peloton or anything like that. Definitely no treadmill. It's all, pretty much just walking lately for AD until he eventually started ramping up his court stuff just a couple weeks ago. So how's his wheels? How's his stamina? These are the things I'll be watching tomorrow. Again, it's only going to be about a 15-minute window. Can't get too crazy either way. But definitely some questions about his wind, and the same will be for LeBron whenever he comes back. Again, a lower body injury. Can't do a lot of running on it. Can't do a lot of biking. Maybe some swimming. We don't have those details about what these two guys have done to try to stay in shape. It's a pretty non-contact event there if you're swimming in the pool there. But curious to see, excited to see for sure.
You along with the rest of the world, that is for sure.
Absolutely.
Lakers Nation is excited to have Anthony Davis close to his return. And you know who else is hype? Kyle Kuzma. He retweeted Dave McMenamin's tweet on AD with the caption, "Got a new player." Now here's AD
Great
speaking
quotes all season from Kuzma.
All season, right?
about how he feels as he prepares to return to action.
I want to make sure that I was coming back 100%. Because it wouldn't be fair to myself, it wouldn't be fair to my team. And it feels good. Like I said, I feel 100% healthy. I feel great, especially the rest of these games. 16 games left or something like that, 14, leading to the playoffs. Like you said, a lot of guys around the league aren't healthy. A lot of teams aren't healthy. And for us to, for the most part, be healthy, I'm getting back 100% healthy. Well, I am 100% healthy. And then we got Bron, who's coming back as well, who's going to be 100% healthy. So, I think we put ourselves in a good position. It's going to feel different playing with these guys again, just trying to figure things out, even though it did look good in practice. So, I think there are parallels, but we're going to figure it out for sure. We're going to figure out and find ways to win ball games. But like I said, it looked good in practice, and hopefully it translates to the game where we don't have to have that many games where we're trying to figure each other out.
All right, first things first, AD is going to be on a minutes restriction that we do know, about 15 minutes. Kevin Ding, I'll start with you just because Brez kind of shared what he is looking forward to. What are you going to have your eye on? What should the focus be? I mean, 15 minutes isn't a lot of time, but I think it's the right time, obviously, coming back from this sort of injury for AD.
I have the same expectations I've always had for him, honestly. He's one of the best players in basketball. Truly, I think people forget. And so I think he's going to come back pretty smoothly. He might not score like crazy right away because he's not going to be looking to score, but he says he's 100%. And, with that backdrop I laid out earlier about his injury history, for him to say that he feels 100%, that means he feels awesome. I mean, because this is a guy who's had tons of knickknacks, tons of injuries his whole career. So the fact that he says he's 100% means that he definitely took his time. He definitely made sure. Like Brez said, obviously he had to ramp things up slowly, but he's had so much time to ramp things up. He's 100%. And so I'm expecting him to be lights out and make a huge impact at both ends right away.
You know who's really excited about his return? His teammates. It was kind of funny talking to Kyle Kuzma after the most recent game, the post-game Zoom chat with the reporters. I asked him, if AD does indeed play on Thursday, what's that mean to you? Kuz said, his ass better play. Like, he's ready. He wants him out there, and he's not alone. If you talk to any of the players via Zoom, they're all excited about the prospects. They know what AD brings. I mean, he did a lot. And Ding, you mentioned earlier, he has a little bit of a reputation, I should say had, as a guy who's injured quite a bit. Hadn't gone real far in the playoffs, but last season he was able to put the playoffs part to bed. This guy's a champion now. So Lakers are getting back a top 5 player who also has the championship pedigree. And, as you can see, the offense was hurting without him for sure. The defense was okay for some of the games, I should say. But, they're gonna love him on both ends of the court.
Look, I think this 100% that he said is huge. Because, one, we all wanted to make sure that's how he was coming back. So it's good to hear that he's at that position. But also, with that said, and AD knows this as well, this team has worked really hard to figure things out. And so he doesn't want to necessarily mess that up, if you will. I don't think Anthony Davis can mess anything up. I think we need him no matter what. But I still think there is going to be a bit of a process in him maybe trying to figure out how can I kind of ease my way back into the fold of what's been established without myself and LeBron James, and try to kind of seamlessly get back to where we once were, but make it happen quickly, if you will. Does that make sense, Kevin Ding?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a commentary on him for sure. And you look at a guy's career, and it's hard to realize in the moment, like, what does this mean exactly? But let's just take a little step back and say, coming into the season, there's still a thought that, oh, maybe this is the year that AD takes the mantle a little more from LeBron, and maybe AD's the one who's going to threaten to win MVP, in this league this season. And that didn't happen. So now he's out for these 30 games, long layoff, and now he comes back. Does he come back, tentative or trying to just, ease his way in and not disrupt, like you're saying, Allie? Or does he come back in and say, like, I'm the man. I'm going to do all the things that I'm capable of doing. I'm 100%. And I'm going to assert myself from here on out. I think that's really what Lakers management wants from him for the rest of his Lakers career. And so each moment is an opportunity. And I'll be interested in that aspect to see, does AD really bring it right away? Or does he wait 5 games, 10 games, wait to the playoffs, and then maybe it never happens and they don't repeat? All these things add up to what his career is going to be.
Yeah, Dean, because, Braz, really quick, not to cut you off, there is just such a fine balance. And you hope that AD does take that approach of reminding everyone, I am Anthony Davis. I'm one of the best to play this game, and we got to figure this out together now that I'm back.
He can go to school on what Kevin Durant did. Now, Kevin obviously tore his Achilles, but he came back very, very strong. I mean, he came back right away looking like the old KD. AD's injury, much less serious, but serious enough that you have to wonder, like Kevin said, is he going to try to do in the post and everything? And I don't think we know the answer to that. I have a feeling AD might just say, all right, I'm going to ease into this. Seems to be his personality, kind of the quiet warrior, so to speak. And we'll just have to see how he looks. There's going to be so many eyeballs on this game. So many people saying, how was that cut? Is he wincing a little bit? What's going on with him? Just bottom line, AD is almost on the way. Just need the final clarification a little bit before tip-off on Thursday.
Did you just read my bump?
I did not.
We've got more. AD on the way.